Yeah. So from the retreat, you came to a conclusion that that you need to work on doubt.
Not so much doubt. It was more like I'm still very reactive.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, well, that's not doubt. So have you noticed a pattern in your reactivity?
Not really. It's more like I notice a reaction and then I just try to dive into it.
Mm.
No, yeah, I haven't seen a pattern yet.
Mm.
Usually it is kind of like I just start thinking a lot. Yeah.
So would you see that thinking as reactivity?
Oh, I think so, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, like screw that guy, and then just keep going.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
So have you got it? Have you got it? When I say have you got it, I mean have you got it? Is it an have you got it at a deep level that that guy is just what triggered the reaction? It's really got nothing to do with him.
Yeah, I understand it.
Right, right. So you don't get carried away looking at the guy and what he did and why he shouldn't have done it or anything like that. You go straight to what is happening that you got triggered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how are you looking at that? Are you looking at that mentally?
No, I just go straight to the sensation.
Great, great. Yeah. And do you see, in your experience, do you see stories that were attached to the sensation as you're going towards it?
Oh. So if I think now, I'm thinking of a lady that was a bit too, what do you call it, dismissive, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she's a bit crazy. Yeah, and then that made me feel, I don't know, less than.
Yep, yep, yep.
But yeah, so then I'd say that's not, that's just the way she is. It's not her fault that she did that. And then I'd go to the sensation and then just try to feel it out.
Mm-hmm. So the point of going to the sensation, there's a couple of points in it, really. If 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 what she triggered was what I would call a remnant, if it's just a bit of unidentified selfing that got triggered, then just seeing it come up will be enough to dissolve it, and you won't see it again.
Oh,
If it comes back, it's sitting on something else, something another level or two down.
mm,
And so that feeling of being dismissed, it kind of has a familiar ring because it's pretty common amongst lots of people, just because that's what happens to kids. They get dismissed. They're less than human. They're only kids. They're to be seen and not heard, or
right.
whatever, So it's pretty much a fairly universal kind of thing for people to to feel dismissed like that. But how they take it is another story, and that's what's even further down. So when you feel dismissed by her, ideally you would at least mentally, if not actually, thank her for provoking that in you,
Right.
because that gives you the opportunity to clean something out, clear something out. Yeah.
Would you automatically try to go back to childhood?
No, definitely not. No, you can't really do that. You can't do it in, like mentally, that doesn't achieve much. No, so the thing is that you recognize that feeling in yourself, and you go towards a sensation that is there because of that. But when you get really close to that sensation, it's going to change and dissolve and whatever, it'll do what sensations do, but it will reveal something underneath that. Right. So let's say the what the lady provoked in you was a feeling of being dismissed. That feeling is not a pleasant feeling, and so then you would normally expect that to feel maybe some anger or some irritation or something that would be there as an attempt to take you away from that yucky feeling of being dismissed. That's that's the usual kind of thing. So by going to the sensations, you're not getting involved in that. You're not stuck in that circular or self-reinforcing feeling of when you are dismissed, it provokes a whole range of feelings about yourself, and those are the things that will reveal themselves as you get honed in on that sensation. But they're the stories that are attached to the sensation, and they'll start to fall off. But on the way, you just notice them. You notice what they're about. You don't engage with them, but you notice what they're about.
Mm.
And so feeling dismissed can also be, you can come up with a whole lot of little stories around that. One of them would be feeling that you are insignificant, feeling that you don't matter, feeling that you're actually in the road, you're a nuisance. All sorts of things could come out of that are also attached to that. And they're the ones that'll lead you closer into where the original thing might have been. Now that's assuming that there is something that is, how can I put it, that is embedded in the body. And it's not just a mental thing. It's definitely something that, and because it's not glaringly obvious straight away, you can presume that it probably happened before you were able to remember what happened. Memory is an interesting one, because it's like, it almost is as if we have to have language before we can have memory, because we need to label things in order to remember them. Anyway, that's just a story of mine. But so because it doesn't become glaringly obvious, we just have to keep on getting closer and closer to those feelings, and what's underneath those feelings, more feelings. So the idea is you are curious about this feeling of being dismissed and what's underneath it. And only by being kind of relaxed and open will that stuff reveal itself. You cannot force it out into the open. You just got to kind of be very patient and very relaxed about what comes up, and don't have opinions about it. I mean, if you do, you do, of course, but recognizing that usually opinions and judgments are another way to escape it. They're another way to be focusing on the outside of what's going on.
Okay.
So be gentle and just look at the ramifications of feeling dismissed. So here's another good one that you can use. It's a little, anyway, just to say, feeling dismissed, that's a label, right? It's a more than a one word label. It's kind of a sentence label, but it's still a label. It's great for communication. You can tell other people what you are feeling, and they'll get the general idea of it by using that. But it misses all the details. Right? So what happens when you feel dismissed? What is the feeling that comes up? What's underneath that feeling? And the way to get closer to it is chase the sensations down every time. So you can imagine, here's a scenario I told somebody recently that it's purely fantasy at this stage, but just, okay. So let's say you have an anger reaction to something, circumstances provoke you into a state of anger. When you go to the sensation and recognize that anger is a label, you immediately start to look at where are you feeling this thing that you called anger? What does it feel like? And so on. And what you're going to find is, as you get closer to the sensation that is anger, that you'll find that it's actually sitting on something very likely, probably called fear. And there's another label. And so when you get close to what the sensation is that this fear thing might be, as you approach that, you'll start to see that that fear sits on top of maybe terror, right? Because you're getting closer, really close, and it's got to pull out all stops to try and get you to get away from that, not to go in that direction. So if you were to get really close to the terror, it's like, okay, here's a huge amount of emotion that we just don't want to go near because it's really painful stuff. But if you, again, follow the sensation, if you can, you have to be pretty courageous when you're faced with terror to keep on heading towards the sensation. What you very likely find underneath that might be something like shame, right? And that's when your whole attitude changes. Instead of being aggressive about things, here you are, the victim of things. And so when you start looking at what that's about, that's when you're likely to get revealed to you that original situation. And it won't be one incident. It'll be probably years of conditioning, years of getting the same thing thrown at you all the time, to the point where you not only believe it, but you start telling yourself that. So where it might have come from, say, school teacher or parent or a particular friend or acquaintance, whatever, you kind of take over from them and start doing the same thing to yourself. That's just the nature of it. Tricky stuff, but really interesting.
Mm.
So the thing doesn't stop. If it's just a remnant of selfing that comes up, like if it's, and what I call a remnant, it'd be something that's kind of laid dormant simply because it hasn't been triggered. But the moment it gets triggered, you go, oh, okay, there's that. It's selfing, and you look at that and you go, okay. And then if you can find a bit of humor in your recognition of that, chances are it's just a remnant and you won't see it again. Maybe once more, maybe a little bit, but essentially it's done, it's finished. But if it keeps coming back, then definitely we've got these layers on layers on layers of stuff to work our way down through.
Is the goal here to not be reactive at all?
No,
At the end of it all? No.
no, not at all, not at all. Certainly reactivity will change, but that's not a goal. No, we welcome the reactivity because it shows us something that's there, something that's going on. So the goal, if you like, it's a bit of a trap, isn't it? The goal is the attachment to these things, right? We are reactive because we're attached, because we still have beliefs about something, probably a self or something like that. So it's attachment, or rather identification is a better word.
Mm.
So when you identify with something, you kind of see it as you. So when you see a reaction as you, that's what we're trying to break, that identification with those things. You don't own any of them. They just happen. They happen for a million, for everything that has ever happened is part of the conditions why they turn up. So they're just happenings. And then the idea is to see them that, like if you walk outside and you feel the breeze on your face, that's as personal to you as your reactivity, your reactions to something. Or put it the other way around, your reactivity is actually as impersonal as the breeze on your face when you go outside, or the clouds moving across the sky, or the sound of a dog in the distance. They're all happenings. Well, we can make stories about why they're there, but they're only stories. The reality is, in our experience, they're just something that appears. And your reactivity is just something that appears.
Right. So you know when you've done when you're done with all of this. Is this Feta 2 stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm reluctant to classify it like that. I don't.
Right.
So it is Feta 2 in that if your attachment to that stuff is to say, maybe I'm not there, maybe I haven't broken Feta 1, then
Right.
sure, that will be Feta 2 stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I want to dump all those stories. I want to say, don't classify. It's helpful to use a Feta to look at something, if it presents itself. So a Feta can be a useful tool, but that's
Mm.
all it is. It's a conceptual tool. It doesn't exist in itself as anything other than a way to look at things. So while ever you've got reactivity, you don't need the Fetas. The reactivity is giving you stuff to look at.
Right.
When you've got nothing to look at, that's when the Fetas come in handy, because they're a way of bringing something up that we can look at.
I see.
More so with Feta 4 and 5 than with 2.
Oh.
But nevertheless, it's yeah. So always, the mind wants to always classify things and put it into a slot and have aims and have end results, have successes, all that kind of stuff, and it's all just a joke. That's not the way things really work.
Right.
But the mind just does what the mind does. It's like if you turn the television set on and you sit in front of it and you don't even choose what channel to turn it on to or whatever, and you just watch what comes in the television set. That's a great analogy for the mind, and especially if you're watching a commercial station and you get the ads, well, your mind does exactly the same thing as that. So it'll dish up all sorts of rubbish entertainment, and then it'll intersperse that with ads about things. That's the mind for you. It's the way we've trained it. And so
Yeah.
what we're doing is retraining it a little.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, keep asking those questions. They're good. They're good stuff. Yeah. So purpose in itself is a tricky one, isn't it? It's like if you
Mm.
get any psychologist and say, I've got a problem, they're going to say, well, let's give you purpose. Let's give you a meaning. Let's make meaning out of life. Let's give you a solid identity. That's what they'll do. And that's helpful for a lot of people, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking to do really, it's not quite right to say we're looking to do the opposite, but we're not trying to give you an unstable identity. We're trying to remove any identity. We're not trying to give you meaning. We're trying to give you the recognition that meaning is a furphy. It's a fake. It's a false goal. It means nothing. Meaning is just something the mind makes up. Just as purpose is something the mind makes up. Sure, it can be helpful, gives you something to aim for, but then that also solidifies the belief that you can actually aim for something, that you've got control in things, which is another misleading thing.
Yeah.
So the purpose of life is to live. That's all. The meaning in life is whatever you want it to be. Let's invent a good one.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thanks, Vince.
You're welcome. I like your inquiring mind. That's good stuff. Yeah. But let it lead you to inquiring about the body rather than inquiring about things that he inquires about and things that he inquires about, whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Chasing that never-ending rabbit holes, I call them. Go down the
Yeah.
rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. But you know, like I mean, I talk about these things like I know something, but I don't. I just open my mouth and out comes whatever wants to come out, and I don't know really whether it means anything or not.
Mm.
Mm. How have you been, Leonard?
In general, I would say I'm fine, but it's been 2 weeks now that I've been like super exhausted all the time. I don't really know what it is. It's just like I get up with a headache and then everything feels very heavy and it's kind of like my nervous system is oversensitive. It's like what I see is kind of too bright and like sounds are a bit too noisy. I don't know. It's like everything a bit more than it should. Yeah, it would normally be for me.
More than is comfortable.
Yeah, and then I'm also a bit like, I don't know, like my breath is a bit short. I don't really know what it is, but I guess somehow that this story I told you before like was a bit more, it triggered something deeper
Mm.
than I imagined, or let's say it's nothing that I could access to intellectually. It's just like something
Yep.
physical. I don't know. But I'm quite sure it has to do with that because yeah, and then kind of, yeah, I go to work and then I have to entertain people, motivate people, you know, and that sucks a lot more, even more energy. And then when I go home, I have to sleep. So it's basically working and sleeping. But
You're
then
in.
last weekend, I had a friend visiting and I enjoyed it, but she likes to talk a lot as well. And at some point, I was really exhausted and I felt like I don't know what to say anymore, but I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable. And then, yeah, it felt all like not really authentic and very heavy. And I was listening to myself come up saying things that didn't come out of myself naturally. I don't know. And then on Tuesday, my mom came to visit me for some days. And yeah, on Tuesday, I worked like 8 hours and then my mom came. And then the next day, I had a day off. And on Thursday, I was working only like in the morning. But yeah, it was like I don't really know by whom is this sentence, but I find it quite good. This when you think you are enlightened, spend a weekend with your family, because I mean I did have a distance to the things coming up, but like there were so many situations when I felt like inside, okay, there's something in me that wants to freak out now, you know, like, and I could like really observe that, and it didn't really happen. Maybe like in a very subtle way, maybe I got a bit grumpy or something like that, but there was not a big scandal or anything like that. But it was very exhausting. And I think it's also because it's things that have to do with family dynamics, with like the relationship between my mom and my sister. And then my mom always talks to me about her, and then I have to tell her, sorry, wrong address. I'm not the one you should talk about this with. You have to talk with her. And, yeah, but yeah, there are a lot of these things. And then on Wednesday, my sister contacted me, and she's like quite heartbroken, and she was reaching out like, can I also come around? And then I felt like, yeah, now I would really like to be the brother who receives her with open arms, but it's not possible. I can't. I don't have the energy to do that. And also a thing that I didn't tell her yet is that actually at some point I decided not to meet my sister and my mom, both of them together, because it's really something unbearable. I can't stand it. It's really like when my sister talks to my mom, it's like always this passive aggressive teenager rolling your eyes and like this yeah, kind of tone that is like super annoying for somebody else to witness. And my mom is always like, she's always frightened that my sister could explode again. So she's like really careful, but also a bit submissive. And she doesn't really, she's not the way she is. She always holds herself back. And this dynamic, like to observe it as a third person, is like, I can't stand it. I find it like super uncomfortable. I don't know. So actually, that was also a reason, but I mean, I didn't really find it the right situation to tell her like, oh, speaking of, I don't want to meet you, both of you together.
Yeah.
And
It's hard with family, isn't it?
yeah, and I mean, I felt really sorry for her because, of course, it's not a nice situation when you feel really shitty and you tell your family, can I be with you? And then they say no, you know? And
very tricky situation.
but it's also something that is quite new for me, because I was also always kind of frightened of the reaction of my sister, and I would never say no. And it was like really the first time. And then I mean, I had an experience, I think I told you once before, that when I still lived in Buenos Aires, a friend of mine came over to Argentina after a separation, after a breakup, and she stood with me like 3 months, and I was getting sober, and she wanted to have party to forget about her ex-boyfriend. So I wanted to rescue somebody, but it was not the right time because I had to rescue myself first. So I know that it's not a good idea to offer someone help when you are not in the right moment yourself, you know. But
let's
yeah,
go back to you waking up feeling tired. You're waking up feeling already heavy, and so what's it about? Don't think too much. What's the first thought that comes to mind?
just like I wake up and I feel like I didn't sleep enough, and it takes a lot of time to wake up, and I have a headache, and sometimes I'm also a bit dizzy, and also it's like this feeling here that is like it doesn't give me enough space to breathe sufficient. I don't know.
So can you describe that feeling? Go into that feeling again.
Yeah, it's
Right. I see it up
like
here.
something stuck here. It's like
Right. So
yeah.
something's stuck. And what's it doing? What's that stuckness doing? You would like that stuckness to come out and not be there.
Yeah, of course. It's like it
So
seems like
is it your
yeah.
voice or your wind, or what is it that's not getting out?
Mm,
Yeah.
I don't know if I compare my nerves or whatever like as electric cables, then I would say that there is the point where like the cables are like messed up. I don't know.
Yep.
Like,
A bit of arcing going on or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, like I don't know. Like it's I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go behind the analogies and go to
Mm,
the actual sensation. It'll be your memory of that sensation. But as
mm.
we're talking, you might start to feel it. You never know.
No, it's not a memory because it's still with me
All
now.
right. So you
So
don't have to remember it. Great. Okay, that's even better. Yeah. Um, but you can, as a technique, if it's gone and you want to look at it, you can use memory to bring it back as a way of doing it.
mm,
The fact that it's still there now, that's good, because that gives us something tangible. So instead of telling me what it's like, uh, tell me, describe what you were doing before. Describe where it is and
mm,
the nature of the feeling.
mm. Uh,
So I get it's kind of a contraction.
mm. It feels like a concentration of energy, like very compressed. I don't know. And then sometimes it radiates kind of in a chaotic way. And then there are like waves of, yeah, not electricity, but like
Yep.
somehow as if there was like a stream of energy, but like very chaotic in my body all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm super irritated in the whole body. I don't know.
So tell me the first word that comes to mind when I say, what's the purpose of it? Don't think. First word that comes out.
I would say its purpose is to find a direction, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So let's play with that. Just go along with that. So find a direction. Is a direction for your life or a direction? Talk about
Mm,
direction. What is that about?
mm, no, a direction to just go out of my body and or like kind of an offload or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah. Okay. Good one. Offload. So okay. So let's presume that that's what's happening, and that it's telling you there's something to be expelled. Would that be a good word?
yeah.
Yeah. But in the same time as it's telling you that there's something to expel, what's its involvement in blocking that, in stopping
Hmm.
something from coming out? Is that involved?
Hmm. Yeah, what you mean why it is blocked or what do you mean?
No. So I'm saying, is the fact of its existence inhibiting something from coming out, from being expelled?
Mm,
Okay, don't it doesn't if you've got to think about it too much, let's
yeah,
just
I'm not quite sure if I understood it.
yes. So I get that this is this feels like this uh concentration of chaotic energy
Mhm.
that gives you the idea that there is something to express, something to get out, to
Yeah, because
expel.
it feels
Yeah.
kind of poisonous, like
Yes. Okay. Yeah. 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 So is it, see, I don't want to put words in your mouth or whatever. I don't want to lead you, but so it's telling you, so that would seem to me to be like a messenger, a good
Mm,
messenger that's going to tell you something that needs to happen.
mm,
And maybe that's all it is. That's possible too.
mm,
That's all it is, that it's not doing
mm,
anything other than telling you that there's something to get out.
mm.
I feel
Yeah, the strange thing is also that I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but whenever I go swimming in the lake, and now it's not, I mean, it's summer, but it's not as warm as it's supposed to be in June. So it's rather cold. But after that, I'm really rid of it usually.
okay.
So
So the cold
yeah,
and the wet and the exercise
mhm,
and all of that stuff
yeah.
loosens it up and it's not there, eh?
Hmm. Maybe it's just stress hormones, or I don't know.
Okay, let's
Some,
not let's not try and
yeah, okay.
give that to it. Um, so will it stay away until the next morning when you wake up and it's back?
Yeah, it comes back the next morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, first thing that comes to mind again is this something that needs to come out directed at somebody or anybody else and others? Or has it got nothing to do with that and it's just something you need to be relieved of?
Yeah, I mean, when my mom was with me, I really felt like, oh, like maybe I would have liked to send it to her, but I didn't.
Yeah,
So I
okay, yeah,
didn't.
yeah. All right, good. So when this started,
Hmm.
was there any association with your mother's visit? Is that when she told you she was coming or after she actually came? When did it start? Sometime in the last 2 weeks, eh?
Yeah, I think actually it started because I told you before that when I listened to this audio of the guy that I'm not in contact with anymore, that I found some of the things he said rather insensitive, because he was telling me about his new sexual adventures and stuff like that.
Mm,
And I
mm.
had said before that I would rather not like to
Yeah,
listen to these
get into that.
stories.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I remember that.
But it was not
Yeah.
only that, it was, yeah, it was maybe that I didn't, yeah, maybe I didn't feel seen, and I didn't feel, yeah, I found it rather insensitive. And
Mhm.
then I told you that I had a body no, like listening to it, and it was actually also here. It was rather like, "Bleh,"
Bit- A
yeah,
bit, a bit similar, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I think actually it comes from that moment, because from that moment on, it didn't really go away.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. What I find really interesting is that part of you would like to do with your mother and your sister what you did with him. Right? So
Mm,
you had what it took, whether you want to call that courage or whatever it took, doesn't matter what it is. You had what it took to be straight with him about what you felt, right? You establish some boundaries.
I wouldn't really say it's only my mom or my sister, but like yesterday when I was finally alone again, I felt such a big relief. I mean,
Right.
I'm still feeling physically kind of shitty, but it's much better than before. I mean, I feel, yeah, actually yesterday, for example, I even canceled my cello classes, although it's something I usually enjoy a lot. And then I had the plan to go to Berlin next week on Wednesday, which is my day off. But I already canceled it because I felt like, oh, no, I don't want to have another social obligation or something. So I would say it's not only, I mean, of course, at my work, I can't say like, shut up, I don't want to talk to anybody. So, but at the moment, I'm really like, oh, I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to to function socially. I don't want to, basically, I don't want to talk bullshit, like just to have a conversation. And yeah, and there's.
So once before, to escape all of this, you went to Uruguay? Was it Uruguay you went to? Where was when you were by yourself?
Good question. I don't know, but I was kind of, that was actually the good part about South America, that I was not involved so much in this family dynamics.
Or with anybody that you knew?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But it also had to do that everybody I knew in Berlin, for example, was either taking drugs or being super alcoholic or living in a toxic relationship for I don't know how many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really fed up with that. And I knew that I had to save myself somehow, escaping from this toxic surrounding. Well,
but still there are toxic surroundings, aren't there? There are still toxic surroundings. The family situation is toxic. Your sister, those ones. Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you ask yourself what is a toxic surrounding, then I mean, every surrounding might be quite toxic. I don't know.
Yeah, and toxic's not a good word, but I mean, you know what I meant. Yeah. Right. That's when this stuff becomes bigger for you. Yeah. So it's not just your family, your mother and your sister, but it is other people as well. And it's like you are, oh, I forget the term now. You can get depleted by other people, and you need to recharge, and you need to be alone to do that.
Yeah, but I'm also a bit, not really shocked, but about my sister, for example, I know she's not doing fine. And I know now she's probably angry or disappointed. Well, I don't know. At least she's not answering my phone calls, because once I tried to call her again, like to explain her a bit that it's not, it's just not the right moment, but maybe we can find a different moment.
Yeah, who knows what will happen? Yeah.
But yeah, actually, I don't even have enough energy to worry about that. It's just like, I don't care. And then just be angry with me, but just leave me alone.
Yep. I suspect that it's not that you don't care. I suspect that
No,
you need to look after yourself.
I'm also tired of it because during the last 10 or 15, no, maybe 10 years, it has always been the same stuff, you know? I mean, and I'm listening always to the same things. And
Yeah, nothing changes.
I'm even to my mom, I told her, like, I'm really sorry, but I mean, if you had to listen to the same story for the 100th time, wouldn't you feel a bit bored about that? And yeah, it's just like, and I know I can't contribute anything to it.
Mm,
I mean, if I engage in it, I will rather put water on the mill of this mechanism again, and I don't want to.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah. So how do we find out what is provoking these unpleasant feelings that you've got?
Hmm.
Or a better question might be not how do we find out about what is provoking them, but rather
Mhm.
how do we find out about not being provoked?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
They will continue because they're outside of you and they just happen for their own
I,
reason. Yeah.
yeah, there is an ambivalence because I want to be close to people. I want to be close to the people I love, but I can't.
Mm, mm, mm.
I don't feel able to.
The
I don't
cost is
know.
too much.
For example, before my mom came or before my friend came, I was looking forward. And when she was there, I felt like, oh, okay,
Mm,
again.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So the fact that everybody is so tied up in themselves that they don't see you. You don't really you're just, I don't know, some incidental thing that they're using to express something, but they're all about themselves, aren't they? Your mother, your sister, your other friend, they're all about themselves. None of them really know about you.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I mean, when I felt triggered or like nearly going mad, then um, there was this, I don't know, instance in me saying like, okay, but that's like a mirror thing now. I
Mhm,
mean,
mhm.
you are triggered by that, then it means that it has something to do with me and not with my mom, for example.
Well, what you feel certainly does. That's
Yeah.
true about that. Yeah. Yeah.
And for example, I guess, yeah, everybody has problems or issues in their lives that can't be resolved easily. And then it's just normal that you tell those things over and over again. Maybe I'm doing that as well, you know? I think I do that as well. Maybe. So it's maybe also about things that I can't resolve, but I would like to, and that makes me mad when I listen to those stories that over 10 years are always the
Yeah.
same thing.
Mm.
So
But your stories about yourself
mm,
are fairly new, aren't they? They're not old ones that you've been repeating forever.
mm.
Or at least they're a bit of a variation on what you used to do.
Yeah, I think my issue, or like my story, is maybe still a bit this thing about being close, wanting to be close to people, but not being able to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's like not it's in all different kind of variations, like with friends, with people you know, with colleagues, with my
Yeah.
family members, with potential lovers. I don't know. It's
Yep. Yep.
probably, I mean, also it's quite universal, maybe this subject. Everybody has to cope with this subject, and it's always finding out again, like, how much closeness do I want and how much distance do I need? And it's not, is also something that always changes.
Mm.
But
But that's a pretty
uh,
old story, that one, eh?
yeah, but I think that's kind of the center of this story, more or less.
Sure. Yeah. Wanting to, but can't do it.
Hmm. Or imagining that I want it and actually I don't want to.
That could be. That's something you'll have to discover, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah. And no doubt you've tried all sorts of ways to get that closeness,
Hmm.
but they haven't been something satisfactory.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe there's a bit of frustration, like mm, this kind of, yeah, maybe still kind of a search for meaningful moments with other people, or like moments I feel, yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
But then when I meet people, it's rather like after a while I feel exhausted because I don't have the patience to listen to
Mm.
their
Mm.
stories, because maybe also, yeah, sometimes there is like this um, focus on certain things people are running after, and I now know that they are not worth
Yep.
the effort.
Yeah.
But maybe, I mean, if I was like totally relaxed about those issues, they wouldn't trigger me either, you know?
Mm. Mm. Yes. Yeah. So I think you're onto something with the idea that what you see in other people is very
Mm.
about you, right? So
Hmm.
they a straight projection or not doesn't really matter. It's always a message about you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe it's, yeah, I also thought, but that's like just a theory, that mm, I already know some things are not worth to be pursued. Like it's just the +1 game, you know?
Mm.
But I know this intellectually, but not yet 100% intuitively. So there is still a part of me who thinks like, yeah, but what if, you know, like what if it is still possible, or something like that.
Mm. Yeah. So being open and curious,
Mm,
which that question suggests you are. What if? You know, that's like,
mm,
okay, let's see
yeah.
what comes up. Yeah, yeah. Mm. So how do you, when you get the realization that you've woken up with this somewhat oppressive feeling,
Mm,
how do you respond to that? What do you do?
mm, yeah, I think what is generally good about it is that now I'm not like so much fighting against it. I try to um, yeah, I just try to be with it
Mhm.
and see what happens. I mean, I can't change it anyway, so
Yep, 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 yep.
that's already much better than it had been before.
Yeah, that sounds
Mm.
great.
So it's not, I mean, it's not pleasant, but it's not totally awful, you know? I mean,
So would you
it's
say you're
still,
not totally consumed with changing it or ending it?
no, I mean, it's just like I feel like as if I had um, an influenza or something, and I have to go through it.
Wait it out, yeah. Mm,
Maybe I can have a tea or something, but
mm, mm.
there's not a lot to do actually. I mean, I can just observe it and maybe,
Yep, yep.
yeah.
So have
At
you,
least I know that there are some things. For example, I can go swimming, and that does me
yes,
that
change it?
gives me
Yeah.
some relief, for example. But yeah, it's not possible to try to access to it intellectually. I mean,
Mm.
that will be a fantasy story. I don't
Excellent.
know.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that never gets you there, does it? Okay.
Mm.
And so are you using the technique of getting closer and closer to the sensations that are there?
Yeah.
Right? The sensations in the head, the feeling.
Mhm.
Sometimes it'll be very, very hard to describe some of those
Mm.
feelings because they're not specific. They're, more general, more vague, but overall oppressive. They're really hard to put
Yeah,
a finger on
I would say it's
detail.
totally okay the when I have the opportunity to look into it and be alone and be quiet and find uh, yeah find this quietness again, and then it's totally okay. But if I have to interact with other human beings, it's like it's too difficult for me. I don't know.
Yep, yep. Okay, it's difficult for everyone, I guess, especially in the beginning. So, do you imagine that you could do both of those things together? That you could interact with somebody while at the same time getting in
Mm.
touch with that quiet space inside you?
Yeah, sometimes it works,
Yeah.
but not with my family members.
Well, they're the ultimate test, aren't they? They go back so far. Yeah, that. Yeah.
It works very well with my students, for example.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, people I'm not so close with, you know.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's much more obvious with them that when you're projecting your own stuff out, whereas with your family,
mm,
it's really hard to do that.
mm,
Yeah, yeah, okay. It does sound to me like you're in a okay place to work with this. Yeah.
mm. Yeah,
Um,
but it made me understand as well that at the moment, I really have to be clear about my boundaries. And then there was also a moment when I was like, yeah, but I thought that I could interact for so many hours with people. And now it's again like this, that I feel like super exhausted after 4 hours with a good friend of mine. And
Mhm.
then I thought, yeah, okay, but it's just like,
Yeah.
then it's just like that. It
Well,
also,
there may be nothing wrong with that in that
Mm,
that may not have a story to tell us about something else that's going on.
mm,
It's people who are by nature introverted.
mm,
That's maybe not the right word either, you know, but we imagine that they're always in a quiet, withdrawn place, but that's not the case. You know, a lot of introverts are in fact very social, but they can only put up with so much, and then they need to get away by themselves in order to recharge their batteries, so to speak. You know, that
yeah,
happens to people on the spectrum a lot. You know, they just have to manage their input because it can get
mm,
overloaded very quickly. You know, so maybe, you know, it's an interesting one. I experienced that myself a bit. You know, I seem to be an extrovert, but I'm not. I'm an introvert. I much prefer my own company than other people's company a lot of the time.
mm,
Um, so you know, it is a case of it's kind of like it's a legitimate thing if that's your nature.
mhm,
You just need to learn to manage how much time that you spend putting it out there,
mm,
and then how much
yeah,
time you need to calmly recharge your batteries. Yeah,
mm,
but having the attitude that you've got, which is kind of like being patient and waiting to see what shows up, is very good. It's a great
mm.
way to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just imagined, okay, maybe I'm kind of ill now. So,
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
mm,
And it's like you've just got to wait for your body to handle the virus and get it out, you know, or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it may be something a bit more than that as well. But we'll find that out just by being patient and open and curious.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's something isn't it's not something merely physical. I mean, but it is never probably. I mean,
You can't separate. That's right. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. So, yeah.
but yeah, it's a new thing to be able to say, okay, I can accept someone close to me being angry with me. I would not have been able to do that before.
Yep.
I mean,
Well,
it would
that's a
have
pretty big one, that one.
stressed me a lot, like, and then I would have tried to fix it somehow, but
Mhm.
the quickest possible, because I would not be able to stand this situation, and then maybe even I would have been like a bit submissive and like, oh, I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
was wrong.
yeah, whatever. Yeah, to fix it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, that's a good one. Yes. And I do agree with you. I think um, you know, using the term boundaries is appropriate. You know, you are learning what your comfortable limits are about
Mm,
yourself, you know, and dare I say, exerting your right to put those boundaries in place,
mm.
but without aggression, you know, just recognizing that that's as much as you can cope with. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah, cool. And just when you say just being with the sensation, would it be right to say that you are tolerating it or something else?
Yeah, I find myself sometimes that I feel like, oh, not again, not this
Mhm.
day again. Why can it just go away? But then it tells me that it's not just like, yeah, some. little cold, you know. I mean, it's probably something more, it's something deeper.
Sure. Yeah, could be. Yeah. Again, good attitude. I like that. Yeah.
Mm.
So examining the flavor of your relationship towards that is where there'll be some juice for you, where you'll get some value. So, like I said, if you've got that feeling and you're going, oh God, not again, I wish it would not here, then that's kind of almost a push against it. That's not going to, of course. But there's the various flavors of that too. You could say, oh, well, here I am, I'm stuck again.
No, it's not that, but it's
Yeah.
rather like, okay, I have the whole weekend for myself. I don't have any things to do. I mean, I feel a bit shitty, but I can handle it. I mean, it's okay. Like, oh, I'm sorry. There's someone at the
Okay.
door.
All right. You go and get that. That's fine. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries. So have you experienced actually welcoming it as a carrier of a message for you? Have you seen it as trying to tell you something?
I think I'm doing that right just now. But yeah, I had some situations in the last days but I was just like so tired or exhausted that, for example, I watched the news and then I started to cry. And then it was a bit, maybe it was also like, it was about the things that I was seeing, but not only. It was
Yes.
just like, I
What
don't
they
know.
triggered in you, those things, yeah.
And actually, that was quite relieving, and also it felt better afterwards. I mean, my body felt better afterwards. But it was not so much like there were no thoughts attached. It was just like that.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So do you remember what particular thing triggered that for you in the news?
Yeah, it was just like some small report on men in Scotland, like that there are a lot of men in Scotland committing suicide or something. It was just like, yeah. And it was, yeah, about a group that was founded by a guy who was about to kill himself. And that's like a group where men come to talk about their problems. And it was rather like I found it so touching that those men who usually don't talk about their emotions and feelings now meet in this group, and they have a space to share their problems and so on. But it was, maybe again, this is also a subject which has to do with being close or being in contact with other people.
Yeah. So it would appear that that's where the juice is for you. That in that
it seems,
mm.
it really seems like that. Yeah.
And that, of course, immediately takes my mind to some origin story about that. So if I asked you, how old would you have been if you think back to the youngest time in your life when you had a realization or had the thought that you wanted to connect and couldn't, or it didn't happen, or something? Yeah. When did you feel disconnected? It might be another way to put it, but that's maybe not quite right. But you play with it and see.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of situations at school. Maybe when I was 10, when I started to go to college. Before, I don't really remember so much, but yeah, I had a lot of situations with bullying, or that I wanted to belong to a group, but they wouldn't have me in the group.
Right.
But actually, recently, I also got aware of the fact that I did have a lot of friends as well. I mean, it's just it's just one story, but there are also other stories that show the opposite.
Yep.
So
That doesn't mean they're connected.
I would
mean,
I would feel more like an outsider when I was a child, but actually it felt like it. But now I remember that I also had a lot of people who were interested in me, or who visited me, or with whom I spent time. So it's not the whole story somehow.
Yeah. But it's interesting that stuff, because I've come to a realization fairly recently that frequently we can hold two opposing views at the same time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that, you could have had lots of friends, and it could be just one person you wanted to be friends with who was saying, no, not interested. And that might be enough to make you feel that, so who knows? I mean, they could have both of those together. But it probably comes back from even before that. It probably goes back to somewhere even younger, where you were feeling not connected. But don't chase that. Don't chase it. Just be open to that possibility.
That's what comes to my mind, is that, for example, I would say that my mom always had like a very strong focus on me and my sister, especially me, because I don't know, I learned from her that or maybe the way for example, when somebody looks at me and gives me a lot of attention and talks to me for hours, I will feel loved, because that is what my mom always did. So it's like what I learned, what is for me, what feels like affection. And for example, if somebody doesn't look at me and doesn't talk to me, or even, for example, my ex-boyfriend, he used to play around with his smartphone all the time when we were together and not listen to me, and then like answer me something although he didn't listen to me. And that would make me really sad, you know, like I'm together with someone who doesn't pay attention to me, who's not mindful, and I'm just like not even as interesting as his telephone or something. Yeah. So
that's obviously a big one for you. That's a bit of, there's a bit of
yeah.
there, right? Yeah.
Whereas, for example, the first, like with my dad, I felt a big disconnection from, right from the beginning, I think, because I learned this kind of having this relationship like this with my mom, but my dad was not able to about his feelings or thoughts. And I think maybe that's also a moment of disconnection.
Yes, I wonder if that's not where a lot of this stuff came from. Wanting it with your dad and not getting it.
Yeah.
But we don't know. I mean, and so don't put a lot of importance on that, but be open to the possibility. That's all. Yeah. Yeah. So these things will reveal themselves if we are gentle with them. Yeah. When we inquire. Yeah. We go looking for what might be there, especially what might be unexpected. And so
it's just, it comes to my mind now that I said that now being with a friend or with my mom, like after a while I lose concentration, or maybe I lose the energy to listen, to go on listening to her. And that's actually the same thing that I said before about my ex-boyfriend, for example, you know, like of course, like why should anyone like talk to me for hours and always look at me and always be concentrated? And I'm not either, you know, I don't pay so much attention to the other one either. Nobody does. Maybe it's not possible, but
yeah. It's complicated, isn't it? There's a lot going on all the time. Yeah.
It's in general, it's like very easy to be at peace with everything when you are alone. I think the tricky thing is like when you start to be with other people and
Yep, that certainly seems to be where things are with you. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And of course, every person that comes into your life is an opportunity to see more clearly what all that stuff's about. Yeah. And it may well be, it may well be that the association with your mother and your sister, I guess with both of them being family, also highlights for you the absence of what was there with your father. So one could trigger that one. That might happen as well. Yeah. But I would say definitely this feeling of being connected, of being intimate is a big thing, you know. And, you know, it also, you know, I'd say you've probably been through that part of your life where we try and get that intimacy with sex or other ways, you know, and it's never kind of
Mhm.
never fulfilling, is it? Because it's not really what it's
Yeah.
about. It's like kind of a fake way to get it. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also like, I mean, I discovered that I was someone who prefers to be alone 3 years ago when I quit drinking alcohol, because
Mm.
what I mean, I think I used alcohol for
Yeah.
being able to be with people in a relaxed way. I mean, I was like super sociable. I enjoyed being in big groups and talking with everybody, and I didn't have a problem with talking bullshit either, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. 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 A bit of
but
a whole
now
lubricant, doesn't it? Yeah.
I'm not this person actually. I mean, this is just like it was
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That
Lena
was
on
authentic.
alcohol, but it's not my original
Yep.
way of being, probably.
So now your authenticity is a lot bigger, much more authentic than you used to be. But
Yeah,
that
but not
sort of
so popular
highlights
with
things, doesn't it?
others.
Sorry again.
But not so popular with others, maybe.
Well, that doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't
I mean,
really.
if you have to get drunk and talk shit to be popular with other people, right? Yeah, with a lot of people, not everybody, but yeah, sure, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Interesting times. Yeah,
Well, I will go on observing.
yep. Observing the relationship that you have between what's going on and
Mhm.
what else there is, what you call you. But it's the relationship about that, the flavor of that, which is the important stuff, not the stuff itself. That is only the trigger. It's yeah. Mm.
But I just it already feels a bit lighter now
Mhm.
after talking about it, and I think it even cheered me up a bit, so I
Well,
can see it, I can look at it from a humorous side as
good,
well.
good stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's an accidental side effect. That's kind of good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you integrate stuff. When you talk about it, you kind of shift things around and your attitude towards things can change a bit. So, yeah,
Yeah,
integration.
but it's also because I know to whom I'm talking. I mean, that I know that all of you, um, are people who are also going through similar things, and that I don't have to feel judged by you. So
Sure.
I
Yeah,
think
good.
that's very exceptional, because maybe that's also, yeah, that recently there are more and more situations when I feel like, okay, just shut up and don't say anything about it, because sometimes, yeah, I called it things other people are chasing after, or maybe they don't reflect on so much. And sometimes I really don't know what to tell them when they
Mm.
tell
Mm.
me. So I can't, yeah, I can't, for example, my friend is an author, and then she is like talking a lot about that she's frustrated because there's no publishing house who wants to publish her new novel, and that now she's thinking to work at a university because there are some famous people in the literary world that maybe can help her to go further in her career and stuff like that. And it seems to me like a lot of stress, like
Mm.
wanting to get this yeah, attention from from the readers and from the publishing houses and from the university and that makes her like really unhappy, you know.
Yeah.
And then
And you can feel so sad for that situation.
but then she's an author and she identifies as an author, and I don't really feel like telling her like, yeah, maybe you should question yourself. What are your expectations or something like that?
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, she'll have to discover that for herself or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good idea to say that, I guess.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. And we do learn that with experience about when to
Mm.
not speak up. Yeah. Yeah, good. Mm. Well, we'll see what happens now, eh?
Mm.
How are you feeling today, Kelly?
Tired today, but relaxed, tired.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm still. I feel like so you said follow the sensation down, or just follow the sensation. I'm feeling at minute that the sensation kind of like it's hard to pinpoint, one particular place. It just feels like all over.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what I'm trying to do is concentrate more on the body, the full kind of body. And that seems to go quite deep. I find that concentration of that is harder than sound though.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah. Can you see that? Can you see, have you got on your screen that thing that says Vince Schubert is recording this call for note-taking purposes? Can you see that on your screen? Can you see the little logo in there? The logo above those words? Yeah, what do you see?
Two faces looking at each other.
Right. Now switch your focus and look at what's not the faces, but what's between the faces. So if the black between the faces becomes your prime focus, what do you see then?
Looks like a chess piece.
Could be a chess piece, yeah, or a vase. I see it as a vase myself, but yeah. Now you've seen the vase or seen the chess piece, call it a chess piece if you like. Now that you've seen that, can you see that and the faces at the same time? Or do you find yourself switching very quickly back and forward between the faces and the vase, the faces and the chess piece?
No, I can see them as one, but I have to kind of like squint a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I do that. So I've kind of got to defocus.
Yeah.
So what goes on in their mind is a little bit the same as that, like we flip around, we flip back and forward, we tend to, and we can do it really fast. We can go so fast between this and that. Now, when you come to sensations that are not intense and localized, right, you start to get much more subtle sensations and they're spread out. Right? And you go, well, I'm feeling this, what Leonard said, I'm feeling this heaviness as an example, right? And it's like, that's possibly more a whole body feeling than it is in a particular spot. It's just like you can't you can't find something that you can isolate. It's just a bit of this and it's all over the place, and it will be moving and shifting and changing as well, which makes it even hard. And it could be fairly subtle, but there's a level where you know it's there. You definitely know that there is something going on in the body, even though you can't actually explain it or describe it clearly. Right. And so this is good because we're unable to find words and labels for it. Right. That's the really good part about that. So what we have to do is we have to be really, how can I put it? I suppose defocused. It's not quite the right word I'm looking for, but we have to kind of expand our perspective out to encompass the whole body. And then we might discover that it's not actually the whole body, but it's more in this part of the body than another part of the body. But when we first become aware of it, it could be like, well, something's going on, but I can't tell you what it is. I don't know where it is. I don't know what it means. I don't know, anything in particular about it. It's just there. Yeah. But as you just scan the top of the body down, go through the body and look for any sensations that come up, right? Even though in the beginning you might go, oh, well, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's all over. It's in my arms. It's in my torso. It's all over the place. As you do that, it will become clearer about some places where it is more intense than other places. So that all over the body thing is really what happens when you first go to it. But by being relaxed and not looking for labels to describe it, but rather just, what does it feel like? Where am I feeling it? That very general kind of thing. You might find that actually some parts of it become more intense, or they reveal themselves as more intense than other parts. But still, when you're doing it, whether you can find something concrete to grab a hold of, or whether it's just general and everywhere, you're still not in the head. You're out of the head, which is a really big thing. It's a very important, because no matter what, when you get into the head, it's going to take you away from what's going on. That's always the case. Yeah. So being relaxed and just looking. The process of looking does a lot, even if we don't find anything, even if we can't define what it is we're looking for or looking at. Right. So then we get down to the process of seeing. And so when you can locate sensation, even if you can't describe it, you can recognize with the right attitude, I was going to say, you can, but yeah, there's a way you can recognize a flavor of what's going on. It will talk to you, but it will talk to you in a different way, in a not specific way. So again, it's also a case of consulting your intuition about whatever. But you don't need to find out what's going on. Just being aware of something could be enough. Just know that something is going on. And it's interesting because, and you've probably never really focused on it so clearly that you can even say, oh, I don't actually know what's going on, whereas before you probably went, oh, and dismissed it, so you didn't even bother to look at it. So the difference is now, you'll look, even if you can't find something that you can write down or write about. It's just, there it is, just something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm still saying it's good what you're doing, that you're putting your attention in your body with curiosity, without needing to find something concrete to describe or whatever.
No, I feel like I think there was a sense that I was going to get somewhere. That can still be there, but it's not as prominent now. I can sometimes trick my mind and say, no, I'm just relaxing. I'm just going into the body.
Yeah, but it's so,
I don't know where I thought I was going, but
doesn't matter.
I was
Doesn't matter.
going.
No, I 12 months before I wake up, almost exactly 12 months, and I don't know why was the case, but it was. 12 months before I woke up, I had a really strong feeling that it was going to happen. And I started a blog and I called it On the Verge, right? So I had that definite thing of I am close. I'm right on the verge of something here. And I kind of expected that it would happen fairly quickly, but it took 12 months after that before it happened. So, and I have no idea what was involved. But I know that feeling of I'm close. Something is going to happen. It's not just anticipation. Well, maybe it is. I don't know, but it's there. But I know the feeling. I get that. So don't dismiss that feeling. Don't send it away as, oh, it's just such and such. Just and it's interesting. Yeah.
Just stay curious.
But it might. Who knows? Yeah. And our body will, amongst all this stuff we're doing, where we're consulting our body for our identification and our reactivity and all of that kind of stuff. But as well as that, our body's going to say, I'm tired. I want to sleep in, or I need to rest. Leave me alone. I need some space to myself. Our body will tell us things like that, and it's good to listen. Even if it's only to find out that that's not what's really going on. So if we go, oh, I really need a bit of quiet space, I need to be by myself, and we go away and we get quiet by ourselves and we go, nah, that's not what it was about. There must have been something else, because I'm not really happy doing this, Or it might be the opposite. You might go, oh, phew, what a relief this is, just to be by myself and not have any input going on. Yeah. That could also be. You never know. Yeah.
I do listen to my body more now. Like today, I am going to have a rest day. Before I used to just power through, but now I do. I'm looking quite forward to it, actually, to just lay and rest.
Yep.
And be gentle.
It's important. That's right. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Be gentle. Yeah. It's almost crazy, but anything but gentle doesn't really achieve much positive stuff. All that not gentle stuff just doesn't do it. Progress happens when we're gentle with ourselves. Yeah. How are you, Helen?
Yeah, not good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of, since this friend thing, I had a friend that went off with another friend, and I found it quite painful. And As you were talking earlier on, and you're asking the fella, what comes up now? No, don't think about it. What comes up now? And I can't remember the context, but it just hate came up, and that seems to underlie a lot of not my relationships, like not my husband and not family, but people outside. So I was sort of empathising with the fella that it's other people that I really find difficult, and it's that sort of, I still feel I'm going out with a front, you know, face, but I'm seeing more and more through that. But there's a feeling of vulnerability as well that I really don't like. But there's also that the feelings of I just can't. I can't deal. I'm so intolerant, and I don't show it on the outside, but there is this great anger and intolerance of. But I don't. It's an old thing. I know it's an old thing, and over this last couple of years, it's been more and more. It comes up a bit more, but I know it's too dangerous to go to. You know, and obviously I do the body thing and looking at the body, but I know that all this last week or so, it's straight up into my head what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, what you know, what should I do, about the relationship. And there's something that I don't think I can touch. And it's just, I think I don't know, but I feel it's stopping me from moving forward. I don't know if that's the case. But it's something. It's a childhood thing, definitely, because I've little. Because I don't remember much of my childhood. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, would it be accurate to say it feels like a monster that you've got to keep in the cage?
Oh, well, yeah, it's sort of more. Yeah, I couldn't put monster on it, but it's something that I really shouldn't look at it, because it's not right. It's not right, or it's not a good thing to do. And to see the bad stuff. It's always been the bad stuff.
Are you scared of it? Do you think you're scared of that?
Oh, I think I'm frightened of it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what it'll show.
And
I think the shame in there as well.
Yeah. Well, you're getting down to a pretty deep level when you're talking about shame. It's kind of that's pretty foundational stuff there, but there is stuff under that as well. But yeah. So have you had a fantasy about the disastrous consequences of going there?
No.
Getting it out of the cage?
No, I remember you saying that to somebody, and I thought, oh, I'll have a look at that. But I can't even do that. No, I can't even. But one bit, you know, what's stopping me from doing artwork, which is a major thing in my life at the minute. I can't get myself into doing a bit of artwork. But funnily enough, I've been sort of thrust into this group that is about art, and I came on one day and I tried, what is it? What's my big blockage? And I suddenly had this really sort of only flash millisecond of expansiveness. You know, what if I actually did that? What if I was creative again? Because I have been in the past. And this sudden feeling of real expanse, but like I said, it was a millisecond. And I'm like, oh, come back, but yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how to go forward or anything without looking at whatever. I mean, my mum did some really horrible, shameful things, and I've tried to meet that and say it wasn't me that did it. But I sort of emulated her in a sense, and she always said, "I'm you and you and me," and we're there were no boundaries, you know. She always said, "I know everything you think," and so whether I feel that I did them shameful things as well, I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty usual. How can I put it? Usual, normal. Young kids will always blame themselves for what happens to them. They'll always think it's their fault, which is pretty weird. But the other thing that I might have mentioned a bit earlier, I did recently, was that, you know, sometimes what happens is when things are repetitive, and so, you know, things will happen to you maybe day in and day out for years, right? A time will come when instead of that happening from outside you, it'll start happening from inside you. You'll start doing it to yourself.
Oh, I have done. I've done a lot of self-harm and heavily drinking, drugs. I weren't in contact with drugs. No, all my sort of cohorts didn't have drugs, so it was drinking, dangerous promiscuous sex when I was younger. So there's a lot of, I look back, a lot of self-harm and all of that.
And
I've had,
obviously all escape stuff, hey?
oh yeah, I had anorexia nervosa. I've had a lot of mental health problems. Yeah, huge mental health problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
And self-harm, yeah, and risk, taking huge risks.
Isn't that good?
You see, it's the only good thing. The only good thing, I can empathise with others when I hear stories of self-harm. I can empathise and just I know what I've been through, so it could be a similar.
And you survived. You survived it. That was another good thing, you know. And things that it can show you, that it has shown you, is brilliant. Yeah, there is a lot of good stuff in all of that shitty stuff. Yeah. Okay, so what I get the feeling that for you to go there is I don't know if it's true what I'm about to say, but it's like if for you to go there is probably your only way to escape it, your only way to have it no longer affect you. But going there is obviously not going to be an easy task, given how you feel about it, your fear and so on.
A lot of this path, you know, for the last 10 years, previous to that, when I followed this path, it's not been active. It's not been proactive. Did a lot of reading and, you know, Krishnamurti and all of this lot. So a lot of reading, and then YouTube came along, and obviously that put it out again. But it's only this last few years that it's been more proactive and looking at it in my body and everything. And I think some of it is sort of has eased up, because I could, in my life, it's easier. My life's easier.
You could look at some of it, yeah. It's a bit of a trick, isn't it? Because the closer you get to it, the harder it is to, the less pleasant it is.
Feeling of death. I've had this death. I'm going to die for the last 2 weeks. Real strong feeling.
Yep.
I'm on the verge of dying.
Okay, well, great. That's really good. Yeah, that would suggest to me that you are pretty close to it, right? Because, you know, like you can say with, you know, you can start with like anger at the top, and you can get underneath that and find fear, and you can get underneath that and find terror. Yeah. And then you can get underneath that and find shame. Right? And then you can, well, you're getting pretty close at that stage, you know, and you've actually seen all of those things, maybe from a bit of a distance, but you've seen them, you know, they're there. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, from a distance, I have. Yeah, I've seen the terror and I've seen, yeah, shame. Yeah, from a distance. I
Yeah.
don't feel I've really hit it in the face, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, you got to stay safe. That's the thing. Yeah. So at some point, something, your intuition is going to tell you that it's time to do it. It's time to get close to whatever's going on. You've heard the monster under the bed analogy, eh?
Yeah.
And it's a bit like that. Are you, so are you, you know, with that story, and I guess I'm remembering my monster under the bed as a kid, and I do remember it. I can remember for sure. It wasn't just the monster under the bed, but there was a coat hanging on the back of the bedroom door that looked for all the world like a person standing there, a shadow of a person standing there watching me. But as well as that, there was one under the bed as well. So it's a personal thing when I talk about that monster under the bed. But I do remember also feeling like the fear, fright, flight, freeze thing, and I had the freeze thing. I had to lie so still, and it was like I was paralyzed. I could not move to check out. I certainly couldn't get out of bed and put the light on and see what was going on. So it was like that sense of immobility, that inability to move, the paralysis. It was like there was paralysis involved with not being able to make the move to look at or look for what was really there. Yeah. So
There's a certain, yeah, paralysis for me because I hold my breath a lot.
Yes.
When I'm doing that, I hold my breath as if I'm not to make a move or a noise or.
If I keep really still, I won't be noticed. It'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know intellectually that there's no monster under the bed. You know that's the case, but that doesn't change how you feel.
No.
The head talking. Yeah.
Yeah, there's two things going on. I know that there's, I'm here now, is now, and there's nothing, what happened is a story. It was in the past. I've reacted to it. I know all of that in my head, but there's two things going on. There's the fear of it as well, which is quite a strange sort of dichotomy, really.
So just play a fantasy with me. What might be the circumstances in which you are able to shine the torch under the bed? You are able to turn the light on and see. What might be the circumstances that enable you to get up close and personal with all of this?
It just comes to mind, just somebody holds my hand and says it's okay.
Yeah. You know what? I was thinking exactly that same phrase a moment ago. I was thinking, yeah, we just need to hold your hand. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was interesting that you said exactly those words. Yeah.
I remember going to a Muji retreat, and a lot of this sort of stuff, there were all sorts of stuff coming up, death with terror and all of this. And he ridiculed me. It was awful.
Oh, really?
I was actually, I was ridiculed. Yeah.
By Muji himself?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised at that. Yeah. What do you think he was aiming to do? What was he trying to tell you with that ridicule?
I think he was just trying to smash me ego or whatever. I kept saying, I want to go home, and I was crying, and I was really terrified. And he just said, you know, my love, you're already home. And all this entourage laughed, you know. And
Yeah. Mm. Mm. Didn't help, eh?
no, because on that retreat, I was hospitalised as well for a urine infection and dehydration. So all of that terror being carted off in this ambulance and one thing and another, it was really frightening.
Yeah.
That's why I said, I want to go home. And he said, my love, you're already home.
Yeah. Didn't feel like home though, did it?
No.
And urinary tract infections are really weird, you know, that it seems to be, it was quite common. My mum used to get a lot of urinary tract infections when she went into the nursing home towards the end of her life.
Yeah.
She would get actively psychotic every time she
Yeah.
had urinary tract infection. She would say, see that nurse? She's trying to kill me. And she was serious, you know, but it was all to do with urinary tract infection. It played with the head big time.
Yeah, it does. My mother-in-law was the same. And I know another old lady. Yeah, it does. I don't know how the heck it does it, but yeah, it triggers psychosis.
Mm. Amazing stuff. Isn't it? You think, how can it be a connection? But yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll have to organise something where we can hold your hand, I think.
I was thinking about that, Vince. Could I just a one-to-one or something?
I think
Because
that's
it's not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fair to the group. So yeah, I'd like a one-to-one if that's okay.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
It's not that it's not fair to the group. It's not fair to the group to deprive them of it, but at the same time, it's probably not going to happen in the group. So, yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries at all. We'll do that. I'll email you. What's your? I've got your email address on that list, have I?
Yeah. I'll email you. I'll get in touch
You
with
email
you.
me. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no worries. Yeah. Wake up, Anne. How have you been the last couple of days, Anne?
Exhausted.
Everybody's exhausted. Wow, yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's the retreat that did it.
Oh,
really.
yeah. Well, that was really intense, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a week from roller coaster week. I feel like I was fine when I finished it, and this usually happens to me after a retreat, and then I just feel like I was put through the ringer, and I don't know how much of the chronic fatigue syndrome affects that. Trying to recover from the backlog of tiredness and then fighting that probably. But I think, well, I don't think, I feel like the waters are starting to calm now, and I feel like some things have been washed away and a lot's been seen. It's been intense on the retreat and this week. Very, very intense stuff coming up. Yeah.
So that stuff coming up this week, do you think that was triggered by the retreat?
Well, it does tend to happen after a retreat. It's like the cage has been rattled and everything is alive and coming up, which is a good thing. But, you know, when I'm right in it, I won't say that.
Yeah.
Like
Tiring
this week,
anyway.
I realised that something that's been going on for a long time, which I hadn't even realised that, and I'll put a label on it because it helps me understand it, but I have anxiety attacks. And they're really intense, and it's really helped me understand what they are by seeing them so directly and intensely, and, you know, managing to self-soothe and self-calm them, which is quite new this week, quite a new thing that's happened. I feel quite good about that.
So have you
They're
seen?
very scary.
Sorry.
They're quite scary.
Yes. Yeah. Because of the intensity of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm scared they'll take over me. I don't know what I don't. I just don't know what's going on when I'm in one. I don't know what's happening. Just feels
It's all
crazy in my head. Crazy. Can't catch the thoughts. Fast, very fast. Everything's very fast. And so I'm just learning to drop down, bring it down.
drop down into the body. Into the body.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So have you had
And
any clues as to what the anxiety is about? Like for a start, would you say that it seems to be it's about some single pointed something or other, or is it about some very general something or other? What does your intuition tell you?
there's a couple of things. I think what I've realised this week is that really clearly there's been a lot of mind identification for a long time now.
So you mean by mind identification, you mean what you're identifying with your mind?
I think so, yeah. I think I'm believing it. I'm believing it. I'm believing
Your
thoughts.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by seeing that, I think that brings on anxiety attacks and confusion and not knowing where I am, what's going on. It's all mind. And just being able to step back into that space of just recognizing that again, that I recognized in the first awakening. I think somehow I must have rejected that, and I've kind of had a firm, almost as if something said, no, look, stop going in that direction with your mind. Don't touch the mind. Don't touch the mind. Okay, it's difficult to explain. Do you get the gist of what I'm saying, or does it make sense?
So I don't understand what you're saying with that. Don't touch the mind.
That's just a phrase I've heard people use that's always rang true for me, but those little trails it takes you off on, the little wandering trails of thought.
Yep.
you know, and then identification into them, all of that, like, just forget it. I don't even know I've got into that addiction of mind again. Because on the first awakening, I always say it's first awakening because something, I don't know what it was, but something happened. And it all dropped. And for some reason, I seem to have picked it up again somehow. I don't know, maybe I'd see something more. But I feel like, yeah, I feel quite firmly, strongly in.
Yep. So
Yeah, I've seen it again,
we can presume that the mind is being really active, wanting you to engage with it as a way of keeping away from something it's protecting you from. Yeah. And that's a presumption, but that's why the mind gets really active. It's looking to distract you, and it's generally very good about that. But see, you're already questioning it, so all of a sudden it feels a little bit impotent. It feels like, you know, I want to take you away from those horrible feelings, but you know, you're trying to ignore me, so it's going to try harder to hook you in. And of course, it's very good at doing that because it's you and it knows all of your buttons. So it can hook you in a way that nobody else's mind. Yeah.
I think I've just seen the mind as a whole thing in terms of it doesn't matter what it's saying. It really is irrelevant. I'm not saying I'm, you know, I won't get sucked in, but I've definitely seen something very clearly again. It seems, and that's giving me a lot of space, a lot of calmness to relax and feel like I've been on this crazy, like,
merry-go-round or
wandering. Yeah, just craziness, absolute crazy. It's like, what the fuck? Why did that happen? Like, I was right back at the beginning again, without any awakening, like that again. It's driven me crazy.
So the time not far away will come when instead of us seeing the mind as always trying to distract us, we'll start to see that that it can be useful.
Yeah, well, that's actually, I think I wrote some things down for you to speak about, but that's one of the things that, because it is useful, isn't it?
But it's just not useful when we're totally obedient to it. If you get it.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of low self-worth, self-loathing type thoughts, or I want, I should, I shouldn't, all of that, all ego type thoughts.
Yeah, you know, there's nothing wrong with those thoughts. What would you might say is wrong is getting sucked into them and getting carried away by them. But the fact that they turn up there's nothing wrong with that. That could be a good thing. That can tell us, okay, there's something to look at. There's a bit of identification going on there because I believe those thoughts about whatever, you know. Somebody will say,
yeah, I think what it showed me is that, you know, just to be with myself, just to be present, just to be loving, kind, gentle, and not believe them. And they've had me on a string for quite a while.
Yeah,
I've been beaten up badly.
So like I was trying to tell somebody earlier on, that thoughts appear, and a great analogy for thoughts appearing is the wind on your face when you go outside, or observing the clouds in the sky, or
They're not personal. You were saying it to Leonard. not. It was good, very good. I wrote it down actually.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an attitude that we're
That's
looking.
exactly where I'm at the moment.
Yeah.
They're impersonal. I think that's the point I got to.
Yep. So it's even better. Like to say they're not personal, they're impersonal, is accurate. But it's even better to see them as just a happening that happens, right? So they're not only impersonal, but they're not actually. They're not you. They're not. Then what they are is just a happening, which
I'm
we can
seeing them a bit
describe.
like a sort of computer mechanism or wrong download or something, and you know, like they're sort of, there can be a sort of default mode almost because
Well, they
the
are.
condition
Yeah. They have it.
and the habit of them, and I'm just seeing them like that, you know, just crazy to believe them because they're insane at times. They're always going to go down the same rabbit hole a lot of the time with the same themes.
Yeah, we do that.
So I am focusing a lot on the body. And there is a little bit of me that is like, it's taken me a long time to come into the body, and I still find it difficult times, but I am liking it. It's definitely the way forward. But there's a bit like, could I avoid with it?
Oh, yes.
Could
Okay, good one there. Look, that's again, it's a common thing, you know, is it another escape? Well, it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter that whatever turns up that we might have considered good or bad or right or wrong or whatever we might consider it, whatever turns up is just what turns up. And if we look at it from outside of it, we can put it into a perspective where it can be useful. Anything, no matter what turns up. So there's no such thing as that's wrong, I shouldn't be doing that. Right? What you shouldn't be doing is saying that's wrong, I shouldn't be doing it. What you should be doing is going, oh, look at that. Why is that here? What's going on? What am I actually experiencing? No matter what it is, what am I experiencing? What is going on?
The thing is that, you know, like partly because of the chronic fatigue as well, is like I had to really train myself out of doing mode so the body could relax. And I can do nothing all day. Well, say do nothing, you're never really doing nothing, are you? But yeah, it's like, where do you draw the line? I suppose, thinking, where do you draw the line?
Nowhere. Don't draw any lines.
Yeah.
Which is a bit crazy, isn't it, to say that? But yeah.
I think I know what you're saying, Vince.
I
just got it then, I think.
It's really hard to get over the idea that there is nothing can be wrong. Everything is useful if we just step outside and look at it with a bigger perspective.
I think that's the key, isn't it? That you're avoiding if you're not able to step outside of it, because it's only by stepping outside of it that you're seeing.
Yeah.
You know, a bit like I've done with the thoughts.
Yeah. And if you don't step outside of it, it may well be that you could afterwards, while it's happening, you wouldn't know, but afterwards you may describe it as, oh yes, I was avoiding by doing that. But again, that's not a bad thing, because at that moment you saw it. when you described it as
Mm.
that. And that seeing of it is a really good thing. That seeing of it is what
Yeah.
frees you from its clutches and allows you to put it into perspective.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's about being patient with yourself, isn't it? And
Definitely, very definitely, a patience is a huge thing. Yeah.
huge, huge,
Mm,
very difficult one for me.
right. But
But when you were talking to Leonard and Helen and Kelly, when you were talking about going back to their childhood stuff, I feel some of the time that's very on the surface for me.
mhm.
You know, like when you said about the anxiety, is it? I can't remember how you put it, and I chose the path of going down. You gave me two options, and one was like looking at the thoughts, and well, there's been a bit of a breakthrough there. And the other one was something happened when I was very, very young. And that disassociation, fast mind reminds me of that. That's what possibly happened after something really bad happened to me.
Yeah, that was your way of coping with it.
Possibly, I
disassociate
remember
from it.
after it happened, somebody giving me a tin of biscuits to make me happy or shut me up, whatever, and watching television, and I couldn't watch it because it was too fast.
Yep.
Everything was really fast.
Yeah, because you were in an
Like-
altered state by the sound of it, eh?
Yeah, I was in that I go into now.
Yeah, a bit
I
like
was
shock, maybe.
Shock. Yeah, that's how it feels when I go into this thing that I've just recognised.
And shock is, you know, I mean, even that word is a bit shitty, but shock is, there is an element of dissociation in that. That's again, it's very much a protective state, isn't it? It's a way of not freaking out to go into this shock state. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hate shocks. I absolutely hate them.
Well, it takes over.
that's,
It's so big. Yeah.
yeah, but that's what's coming up. This shock, panic, anxiety attack,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't make out what it's saying, or people say, oh, look at the thoughts, or I can't. There's just some sort of mechanism that seems to be happening where something's managing to step outside of it now and saying, oh, that's happening. And that is calming it down by seeing it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. Yeah. Yeah, when you're outside,
That's starting
go on.
that it's like, I see you now, sort of thing. Oh, I see what's happening. That's back again. That bubble of confusion, panic, fear. That's all included in it. Like a little bubble.
Yep.
And if I can see it as a little bubble,
It's
a little
contained.
constellation of energy that seems to be in this area. I think in the past that I've panicked that I couldn't understand it or analyse it or know what it was or know what to do with it. Whereas now it's enough to recognise that it's going on. That's enough.
Yep. So that's you outside of it again, looking at it. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been quite big this week, but it's been quite a traumatic week.
Oh, a bit exhausting. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And another thing I've been able to do is I've got GERD, and it can be bad on a morning. But I don't know if sometimes don't know if it's GERD or if it's just I see it as like my inner child
Mm.
wanting to connect or
Mhm.
been a bit upset. So I've been going into the sensation of it. And sometimes, maybe a couple of times, it's gone. Whereas normally I'd have to go take some medicine or have a drink.
Mm.
I've stayed with it and it's felt like I've literally gone into my body and held it and hugged that sensation, given it a hug, the
Yes.
sensation itself, and it's dissolved.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that it isn't good. It's not to say anything about it, but the result
Mm,
of that is pretty good, eh?
mm.
It's,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean,
yeah.
I've definitely got scared, and I had it this morning, and it wouldn't dissolve. I just,
Mm.
I'm not expecting that. I'm just seeing it as giving it care, love, and attention to that area
Mm.
before I jump up and take something.
Yep. Yep.
But this morning it didn't. But then again, when I was off camera, it was going on then, and I came and laid down and kind of give myself a bit more care and love, got myself in a comfortable position, and then it went again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit like looking after a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is. It is. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
And it does have. It's amazing. It does have a physical effect to do that kind of stuff. It will change the amount of stomach acid you make. It will change how tight your stomach is, or whether your stomach's trying to push it up your esophagus or whatever,
Mm.
That can change with just that, because when you relax, guess what? Yeah, your whole body changes shape and changes everything. Different hormones. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I truly believe that trauma and what have you has all given me the illnesses I've got. And I also believe that it can just go. It
Mm.
gets resolved. But I don't expect that. Sorry, I'm laughing because Kelly's got a Shein haul and I want to know what she's got. She's opening packages and it's not good for my addiction to shopping.
The sugar's gone and now the shopping's coming in. I'll work through that soon. It's just clothes and plants.
What clothes for you?
No, for Esme for Christmas.
Oh, that's good. I don't have to go on my phone and start shopping then and get in competition with. Terrible shopping addiction. I've been dealing with that as well, Vince. Oh my God. Off the scale craziness.
Yeah. I have no doubt that.
I think seeing the thoughts is helping with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that thought one. Does it sound right what I'm saying about seeing the thoughts?
Yep, it does. Yeah. Again, you're outside of it, so you're not in it. You're not being controlled by it. You're able to get a much better perspective on it, and that will break that connection that you used to have, that identification that you used to have. Yeah.
Mm. I think I almost had like an obsessive, and you said, I can be very obsessive. And I think I can get very obsessive with thoughts. And I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
And analyzing them, or what's wrong with me, or this or that, or do. And, I'm now able, like before, like Angela puts it, like find the space and stay there. And that's what I feel able to do now, is recognize the thoughts and then the space. Do you see what I mean? And I can stay in the space.
Yep.
And
Right.
that's a choice now. That seems like, whereas I couldn't do that. Whereas when I had my first awakening, I did that. I lived in that space.
Mm.
Thoughts came, but they were irrelevant. That had gone, and that really scared me. It's like I'd lost the first awakening. It's like weird. How can you lose? You can't. But now I feel, for now anyway, that something's come back.
Yep. See, that the fact that you had that experience means you know how to do it. Your brain knows how to do it for you. And
Mm,
so it's just a case of removing the obstacles that are in the road of that, and you'll be there again. But you're not going to live in it all the time. It'll come and go
mm,
depending on all sorts of things. So, you know, you might have another long honeymoon period where you are in it all the time for a while, but it,
mm,
it's an experience. That's not what being awake is. That's
mm,
an experience that is there, and maybe being
mm,
awake is the reason why you can have an experience like that. But it is
mm.
just an experience, and they're always impermanent
Well, I
experience.
think it seems like, to put it in my words, it seems like that first recognition of the I am, or the space that you are, and you can rest in that space. Feels like that.
Yeah, you can, yeah,
But
absolutely.
it doesn't feel like a full awakening in terms of the I am is still separate. The I am is still an I am, and when the self drops, that drops.
Mm. The attachment to that is the thing. The identification with that. The I am
Yeah.
itself is just an illusion that occurs, and that will occur. But believing that it's you is what drops. Mm.
But the space seems much more prominent now.
Yep, yep. And
It's like the
space is a
space
good
has come
word.
to the foreground more.
Yep, yep. And it's not as crowded. It's not as busy. It's
Yeah, yeah.
mm.
I can still get sucked into thoughts, and this might change. I might be crazy again tomorrow.
Sure.
But,
Well, true for all of us. Who knows? Yeah.
I can still get sucked into them, but there's more space. There's more, when you see something for what it is,
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, I see you,
Yeah.
you know.
And although you get sucked in, you always come out sooner or later.
Yeah.
You're not in there permanently. Some people never get out of that space. Well, you do. You get out of it, so you can see it from the outside.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
and so that's fine. Again, if you start identifying with your thoughts, well, that's just what happens. But when you
mm,
recognize that that's what's going on, that's the key moment. That's when you've stepped outside of them,
mm,
and it's broken. And the more that happens, the more it will happen, and the less you
mm,
have reactivity and getting lost in.
mm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just a much quicker seeing
mm,
of them,
yep,
all the time,
yeah,
and then long periods of space.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's really nice. It's such a relief, kind of like waking up again.
Mm, absolutely, yeah. And reactivity will happen, but it goes away faster and faster,
Mm.
and then
Oh
it'll
well,
be
there
less
still
and less.
seems like quite a lot of trauma that
Sure.
comes up,
Yep.
reactions, and yeah, that's all still very active.
Mm,
Mm.
mm.
Any suggestions, Vince?
Nothing jumps up at me. I was thinking a second ago that, it's sounds to me like you're still in a good place. Things are still happening the way we want. I mean, you know, of course, we always want them to happen already, but they'll happen in their own time. So, you know, I'm not seeing anything that you're doing that is getting in the road. Everything you're doing is right. Sounds good to me. I like, yeah. You know,
I
and
can't believe how painful it's been this week, though. Really, really scary at times.
yeah,
Painful.
yeah, yeah. I get that. See, because the more you realize, the more you've removed filters, the more you've removed covers and lids and things that hold things down. Right. So as a result of that, things are going to come up easier. Things are going to come up more intensely. You know, and that's kind of scary because it feels like we're going backwards, but we're not. We're going forwards. So the more you see, the more can come up until it gets exhausted, until it's no longer there to come up. Right? But in the beginning, especially, lots and lots of stuff can come up simply because we're no longer holding it down. We feel okay enough in ourselves to not worry about running away from it. We develop.
Yeah, I see it as like, you know, this big house, and I've unlocked all the doors and let all the damaged children out, and now I've got to look after them.
Yeah.
When they come up to me.
Yeah, yeah. And they will.
And that's scary because,
sure.
You know, I don't know what to do with them sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the only thing to do is to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're ultimately fascinating to listen to because the stories they come up with can be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's not so much the stories, like if it just like feelings spark up, it shocks me a bit. You know, what their feelings of terror and things. A bit like what Helen was saying, actually. All of that. And you don't know what they are even to put a label to them of terror, anger, shame.
Yep, yep. Well, if labels turn up, I mean, you were saying that, you know, labels help you to do something. I forget what you said in there, but labels were helpful. And they can be definitely helpful because they give you a focus, but you never stop at the label. If you stop at the label and you just relate to the label, that's the same as going to the doctor and he looks up things in a book and says, oh, well, you've got these symptoms, therefore you've got this disease. And then he says, and the book says, I've got to give you these pills for that disease. And then you go, well, that might be the case in the textbook, but me, I'm a little bit different to that. That's not what it is. So labels are like that. They're like treating the symptoms. So always when a label turns up, it is, what is the label pointing to? What is the label trying to describe? So it's always a question about what it is behind the label and beneath the label. What the label.
So do you mean like this? This seems to be my process, like, so the head might go a bit crazy, drop down, and then putting a label to it like, oh, I'm having an anxiety attack, which gives me more compassion for myself. Oh, it's okay, this is pretty bad, it's an anxiety attack. And then, but the label's insignificant, it's just helped me to self-soothe that something big's going on, and, you know, not to run away. And then, so then self-soothe, and then I sit with the feeling or sensation. That's the process.
That's when you get behind the label, when you're looking at what it is.
Yeah.
What's the feeling that I'm calling anxiety, or feelings if they're more than one? Where are they? What do they feel like? Are they changing, shifting, moving, all of that kind of stuff? And then you're down underneath the label then. So let the label do what the label does, but recognize
Yeah.
the label is also, can be, a way of stopping you from getting closer to what's going on. So if
No,
you,
I think the label for me is just a way of making myself present. Like, hang
Yep.
on, you need to be here
yeah,
to
yeah,
take
yeah,
care of
yeah.
this. The bigger self, and don't run away. There's some, something big here.
Hmm.
Like, but can more than one feeling come up at once? Like, could, say, shame and anger come up at the same time?
Absolutely.
Because it just, yeah.
Yeah. You might, you know, again, it's interesting that if you can see both of them coming up together, because they are, man, they're part of each other, you know. All of those, in fact, there's probably no emotion that's totally divorced from anything. But yes, yeah. So frequently, what I've described earlier was that anger can be a way of avoiding the shame. So if the fact
Yeah,
that you're seeing anger and shame there together is brilliant, you know, that's a case of you being really wide-eyed and perceptive about what's going on. That's excellent stuff. Yeah.
but sometimes, like, when people have in the past, and even now, the word shame, I don't know what they feel like. So I'm thinking I might have them, but I haven't got the labels for them.
That could be the case. Yeah. Yep. And more likely the case that I don't want to show myself how shameful I am about something at this stage. And that's a future thing, you know, because it can be pretty debilitating to sink into shame. But the fact that you're seeing that both those things sitting side by side, so to speak, is pretty amazing and pretty good stuff. Yeah.
Well,
But
I'm only
you're
guessing,
outside of it to see it.
to be honest. I'm only
Sorry?
guessing. I just think, for me, I just think a lot comes up at once. And I think that's why I panic, because my head goes, it's too much, it's too much. Which is why not getting sucked into the thoughts is helpful, because now I know that my mind panics when stuff comes up
Yep.
and goes into dissociation or something, whereas now I can think, I can know that's what the mind's going to do and stay with the feelings. But it's it's so difficult to know what's coming up sometimes. But there's something that comes up a lot here, like a burning. And again, I never have got burning with Gerd here, but I thought, oh, that's probably what the burning would feel like if it was Gerd. But I had this other thing in the week where there was something going on here, couldn't make the thoughts out, brought it down, and stayed with the sensation that it was burning here. What do you think? Is that a feeling?
Well, it sounds more like a sensation. If it was a feeling, you would have stories attached to that, although you kind of did a bit with the idea that maybe it was this or maybe it was that. But and it seems like those stories are fairly loosely attached, so it'd be pretty easy to put the stories aside and just stay with the sensation there. And
Well, I can't catch the stories sometimes, they're too fast.
Yes.
The thoughts are too fast, so I can't.
Yep. And they can be pretty elusive too, yeah.
That's what's been difficult for me, that when I'm having a feeling, the thoughts just panic. So drop into the sensation instead.
Yep, that's good. That's excellent. Yeah, because the stories generally, the stories are usually a distraction or a decoy from what's going
Yeah.
on. But there is, having said that, there's a certain flavor of a story that comes from what I call intuition that you would give a bit more credibility to than the stories that float around higher up, so to speak. You know, so if you've got that, you're into that feeling, that sensation there, and you get an idea pops into your head that maybe this is what it's about. If that idea has got this flavor that I could not possibly describe because it'll be unique to you anyway, but a flavor that says that could be credible, right? So it's like an intuition.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So do you mean like, I don't know if I spoke to you about it yet, but and maybe this was the burning here story. The story that's just thoughts, and then there's like more of a memory that's more real. It's got a flavour to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like of my school days, just came out of nowhere.
Mm. Yeah,
and
well,
it was like,
definitely.
that's
Yes.
yeah, that's the flavour of it from that period of time.
Yep.
That's how I felt.
Brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
love that. Yes, yeah, that's good. Yeah, so that's what I mean. That's where you would. I use the word intuition, but it's like it comes from somewhere deep. It doesn't come out of your head. It comes out of your body, kind of thing. You know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it feels good. It feels a relief actually to see it.
It feels
So
right.
it's like there's a present day story that could be about anyone, say my stepdaughter, but it feels disconnected and useless. But it's a strong story. If I connect with the feeling, it can then take me back to a time which it's linked to with something totally different.
Brilliant.
And that's the key.
Yes.
Nothing to do with. I'm getting to know that nothing's to do with the people I'm with.
Yes, they're just the stimulant. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just.
That's what triggers it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just grace bringing it back to me. So to speak. Anyway, I've been talking a long time, I'm sure.
It's okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Yeah.
A bit of a roll there.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm really tired, so I think we'll call it quits now, and I'll go to bed and sleep.
Thanks, Vince. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's almost midnight here, so yeah.
You need your rest.
Yeah, well, I've got a 5 a.m. one in the morning, so with a bit of luck, I'll get 4.5 hours sleep, maybe. Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
We love you. Thank you.
Good. Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, dog.